Hey guys, thanks for joining me. Captain Kurt here. Hey, we're down at our Florida training center, and we had a guy just recently ask if we could make a video showing what comes with the kit and do a start to finish full assembly. And so I thought that'd be a great idea. You can see how a Fresh Breeze assembles and how it comes. Now, we've already taken it out of the boxes to save a little bit of time, and we've kind of laid everything out here. This comes in the complete kit. So if you want to come in, we've got the motor here. This is the monster motor. This comes with a double prop set, so you'll see two sets of props in this. But this is some of the stuff that comes with it. We've got a tool bag, real nice tool bag that Fresh Breeze sends with it. It's got basic tools. It's got your T-handled wrenches, some Allen wrenches. We've got both sets of props. Of course, they're including propeller covers, real nice custom embroidered propeller covers. We've got your harness over here. This is our deluxe weight shift harness that allows you to put it on and use it as a training harness as well as a free-flying harness. Got real nice stuff sacks for the wing. There's another bag for the glider, which is in here. You got your cage parts over here. Here's your back pads. And of course, here's your carburetor. There's very little to assemble when you get it. Almost everything comes ready to go. There's just a couple little things that we're going to do. So we'll be stopping the film from every now and then to just kind of save a little bit of time in between the assembly. But we'll start with the first thing that I do when I get done on assembly. The first thing we're going to have to do is put the cage on. So right now we're going to have to install what's called the retainer clips. If you want to just stay there for 1 second, I'll walk in on the camera. And so these are the retainer clips. And what they're going to do is they're going to mount onto the frame of the motor, and then the cage will pop into the other part. So right now, if you want to bring that camera in, I'll show you where those go. And I've come right around here. And you'll notice there's a hole here on the frame and a hole down here. What we're going to do is we're going to take this nut. You can see that that nut fits down into there. We're going to roll this back and take that out of it. And we're going to put the bolt through right like that onto the frame. Okay? And then we're going to push that in that hole onto the frame like that. And then we're simply going to get our nut started. We'll grab our tool, go over to the tool kit. We'll grab our little Allen wrench out of here. And we'll start just tightening that down. Now, if you just want to get this hand tight and just kind of tighten that nut down. Now, you want to push that nut back into there so it'll actually grip and keep from slipping. And then we're just going to tighten these down. Keep going. And you don't have to bear down on them. You're just going to finger tighten them and snug them down. You'll see that that pin is sitting up in there. That's actually going to, there's actually holes in the cage parts, in the cage quarters that go on here, that pin will sit down inside to keep it from sliding up and down inside here. So it's not only going to grip it going in this way, but it's also going to keep it from sliding up and down. So there's 4 of them located right here, right here, right here, and right here. There's 2 on each side. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the film for a second, and after we do that, we'll assemble the cage parts. Okay, we're back, and what we did was, it only took a couple minutes, but we put the rest of the retainer clips. These are called retainer clips. So all 4 of them are on now. Here, 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 and here. And of course the pins are out. The bolt starts from the inside and goes out. So you always put the bolt in that way with the nut over on the outside. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is grab our cage parts. It's pretty hard to get these wrong. It just might be a little confusing at first. But you can see we have a double ring cage in ours. We have stronger cages on our Fresh Breeze units, and so it's not just one single cage. It's really easy to identify the outside of the cage. This is a bottom piece, and I can tell that because it's got a kind of a 45-degree angle out. It doesn't go over like a 90, and this is so I know from experience that this is a bottom cage quarter. We have 4 quarters here, so we need to find the top piece that goes with this, and here it is right here. So all you're doing is you're lining these up right here, putting the males into the females, and then to hold it together, we're just going to undo this. Honey, if you want to come in a little bit closer and just show this. We have the, we'll take these Velcro straps right here, and we'll open them up. Let me just pull that open. Pop those back together again now that I pulled them apart. There you go. And all I'm going to do is take my Velcro strap, wrap it around here to the other side, pull it nice and tight, and continue wrapping like this. Okay, and we'll do the same thing with this side. There's 2 Velcros that hold the 2 quarters together on each half section. So there you go. So this side is done. Let me just trim that up a little bit better, get a little better even on. Okay, there's one side, and we'll just set that aside, and we'll build the other side. And we'll save a little bit of time by pausing it right here, and we'll come back as soon as we put these 2 together. Okay, we're back, and we got both halves of the cage put together. We're going to start with this side, which is this one right here. And again, we can tell by the way that this notch is cut out that that's a bottom cage section. And what we're going to do is we're going to loosen up the Velcros over here, because these are going to kind of hold it to the frame. So I like to, it makes it a little easier if you open these up like right now. We're going to start down here, honey, if you want to come in here and pan in here. And all we're going to do is take that male down there, and we always start with the bottom one first. And once you get that one in there, don't bend this to the side and pull it away and snap that plastic thing off. Okay, now if you'll pan down here, you'll see that there's a hole where that pin's going to go into. There's our retainer clips, here's our main frame. All we're going to do is squeeze these 2 together until it goes in there like that. And while you're holding it together, you wrap the Velcro around it like this. And now you've got the bottom one on. Then we're going to come up to the top one. And you'll notice if you look down in here, you'll see that hole. There's the pin again. You see it down inside there? All we're going to do is squeeze that together. And with these straps right here, make sure you go around one time before you go around the main frame, so that you're not pulling against that rivet and ripping the Velcro strap off the rivet. Okay, so our cage is just about on. There's one half. And we're going to stop right here. Later on, we'll do the bottom strap that you see down here. We'll get that later. And then we'll come up and do the top. Those 2 we save for last. But we get the 2 sides on, we get the bottom in. But again, with the cage, we always start with the very bottom, then work our way up. Okay, here comes the second half. I'm going to stick the male in there. Again, we're going to start with the bottom one here. Just going to pop that in, pop it in here, and we'll wrap our Velcro strap around there. Wrap our Velcro strap around here. Now, when you come over here, make sure that your throttle cable flows freely through between the 2 bars. You don't want to have it bent or put a kink in that, so we want to make sure that our throttle cable's not in the back here. Keep it all in the front with our throttle handle. And then this is going to be over here, and just wrap it around. And we're just about completed with putting the cage on. We're going to go ahead and do our top straps by just simply pushing these 2 together. If you need to slap them a little bit, that's fine. And we're going to take this Velcro, if I can find the end here, and see where it's at. There it is. Okay, so again, just the way that it's flowing, we wrap this around, come in with this, and get that nice and tight. So our top, now the only thing we have to do is the bottom one. So I'm going to go ahead and, hon, if you want to come around over here and do the bottom one same way. Going to tip the motor a little bit forward like this, pull these nice and tight, and wrap that on. An aircraft that's held together with Velcro, so you know it's safe. Actually, you can't even pull these apart. Guys have always said that about the you know, the Velcro. Almost all of these are held together with Velcro, and boy, I'll tell you what, you couldn't pull those apart with a truck. Honestly, once that Velcro's on there, it holds it together, and of course you got the males and the females. So there's our cage assembly. Okay, the next thing we're going to go to is putting the exhaust muffler on. Fresh Breezes are the quietest units on the market, not only because of their carbon fiber props that are rounded on all edges and their tuned exhaust, which gives you more horsepower at a lower RPM, but we've had intake silencers and exhaust silencers. The Fresh Breeze unit has over 12.5 features that are not found on any other brand, so if you watch my other video and also subscribe to my channel, you're going to see about those things as well. But right now we're going to go ahead and put the exhaust on. You can keep the camera running for that. This is a very simple process. You grab a little 8mm wrench right here, and all I do is open this clamp up a little bit right here and just get that loose. And we're going to take this nut off of here. This is our support bracket. And you notice it's got a dampener on there. Everything on a Fresh Breeze is rubber motor mounted. One of the problems with almost every other brand out there is they don't put, you know, these big rubber shock absorbers and motor mounts on their machines. Everything on the other ones are cracking. Everyone on the market, their exhaust cracks. They don't put enough joints in there. Look, we even have, on the Monster, we have prop hub stabilizers. Nobody has this stuff. There's over 12.5 features around here that people just don't know to look for, like the better bearings and crankshaft. But it's really nice to have your exhaust system not only jointed, but then it's rubber motor mounted in so many different places on a Fresh Breeze. You're not going to get a cracking exhaust on a Fresh Breeze. And it's an extremely effective muffler system. Some of these guys just put a tube on here and they call it a muffler and say, look, ours has a muffler. Well, that saves some money, but it's not being effective. This thing is so quiet when it's running in comparison to any other brand out there. So we're just going to slide that on, and we're going to put this right on there like that. We've got a regular standard washer. We've got a little lock washer here. Put the big nut on. We'll tighten that one down in a second. But I like to tighten this one down first over here. We get our clamp, take our 8mm wrench, and just tighten that down. And then I'm going to come back and tighten this in a second, but we can save some filming time by pausing it right now, and we'll be back with the next step in just a minute. Okay, the next step we're going to do is put our carburetor on. Our carburetor is separated. We use a float bowl carburetor. On a Fresh Breeze, we use float bowl carburetors. Nice thing about these, twice the fuel efficiency. There's no diaphragms to wear out. We mounted our tank at the top, so fuel flows down to the carburetor. We get twice the fuel efficiency. We don't have diaphragms that we're replacing. We're not pumping primer bulbs that go bad. We don't have our gas tank mounted here. And then also, you know, you've got gravity. It's always there. Always flowing fuel to this. We don't need fuel pumps. We don't need primer bulbs, and we don't need finicky diaphragms. They're constantly needing adjustment. If you adjust a diaphragm carburetor wrong, you can literally fry out your motor from leaning it out too much. With the Fresh Breeze, we have a good old-fashioned float bowl carburetor on it. It's got a choke. When you want to start it, you put the choke on, you pull the cord. They're running within 3 pulls. With the Simoninis, they usually start on the first pull. This is a big, throaty 313cc motor. It's the biggest motor being used in the industry with the Monster. For guys that are going to be doing tandem, for guys that are over 200 pounds that want to be, you don't need to fly this, but if you're going to add on later and add trikes and 2-seater trikes, the Monster, there's no equal. It's a 4-bladed propeller system. Nobody has that. But our carburetor system is unbelievable. The fuel efficiency and how easily it gets fuel into the motor, and especially using gravity. But right now it's very simple to connect up. All we need is a screwdriver, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this in my lap if you want to come in with the camera here, and I'm just going to kind of loosen these clamps up. It's all you're connecting is just this tube and this clamp, and you're saying, well, what is that for? Well, you can hard mount these like the other ones on the market, but it tends to, you want to make sure that you're not shaking up the fuel. So this takes out and dampens. Everything is, like I said, just like our exhaust system and our motor mounts, big, huge motor mounts in there. Everything is dampened, so it's not cracking, and it serves a purpose. So right now we're just going to connect this to the intake. I'm just going to kind of pull this out of the way. This is the inside of our carburetor, and I'll just kind of set that out of the way. And I'm going to take this clamp, and we're going to stick this right on here like this. I'm going to slide it right in here. And while that's there, I'm going to take this. This is going to connect right to our frame to support the weight of our carburetor. And that just goes in here, and then it's got teeth to lock in this little bungee cord. Okay? And so that'll support the weight of my carburetor. If you want to come around here, honey, with the camera and show this, it's inside of a tube here, and it just connects to your frame right here, and then it comes down. And then, of course, you just slide that on there like that. And I'm just going to take my screwdriver right now and just make sure that this clamp is all the way on here. Push down all the way and butt it up against there. And I want to make sure that my carburetor's straight up and down, nice and even. So you can actually kind of adjust it right now. And if you need to adjust it later, you can just loosen it up a little bit and kind of swivel it. So I'm just going to tighten this clamp up right here. Okay, get that nice and tight. Guten tight, sounds German. So get that right like that. And you want to pull on it just to make sure that it's on there nice and tight. Now there's your carburetor. Now we're going to put the inside of the carburetor in. Before we do that, we're going to connect up the top part of the bungee. And what we'll do is we'll just connect that to over here. I like to put it right on here. You can put it on any one of these bars. I like to put it on this one so that if I'm ever breaking down my machine and I have to take this one off to break it off, to take off this, let's say I want to take off these sides and put it in the back of my car, I only have to release this one and my carburetor will still be supported by this one because this one is connected to the mainframe. So I like to come up through here, put it in the hole here, and leave it suspended right there. That's a good place for it right there. Okay, as long as I'm at it, I can kind of sidestep here. This is my my intake fuel, so I can just run that right over. We have a real nice cutoff switch on the other side. If you want to pan over there, you can see where I just connected that right there to the cutoff valve. So you can turn your fuel on and off if you're traveling. You don't have to leave it on. You can actually shut it off, and then we can also put a travel cap on, which is the one that's on there right now as it came from the factory. Okay, if you want to pan back here and come around to the other side, this is the inside of our carburetor. It's going to go inside right there. And you'll notice that on the carburetor, here is your needle that controls your throttle. This slides up and down inside the carburetor, controlling your fuel. As you squeeze the throttle, this goes up and down, and it wants to move freely in there. There is a guide that keeps it on track. It's only on one side. So, and the guide is towards the back of the motor, so you can actually feel it here with your finger or even look down in there, but we're not going to have to do that. We're just going to very carefully slide this into the tube, and you just kind of move it around like I'm doing right now until it hit up. There it goes. So you can see how it's sinking down inside. And now all we're going to do is put the lid on the carburetor and tighten these two screws down right here. Okay, and I'll tighten those down. That's good and tight. That's good and tight. Now, George, if you'll hand me that that intake filter. Here's our little filter. Now, some guys don't even use this. If you're going to be flying near sand and beach and places like that, then you can use this. We're going to put it on anyways. It's not necessary that you use it. Don't put any oil on this. This is not a typical K&N filter. So you don't want to coat this with oil as you would on a K&N filter. There's not a lot of dust or debris in the air, and anything that, unless you're on a beach or real dirty conditions, you don't really have to put this on. If you don't put this on, you get a little bit extra power, but quite honestly, with the Monster, you've got all the power you need. You're going to be having to climb out like a homesick angel. This is incredible power. So you really honestly don't need it. But we're going to put this on so you can see how to put it on. And it's very basic. It's just got a clamp here. And all you do is get it started, put it on here like this, and then just shove that down in there like that. Seat it down real nice. And then take your clamp. And now I'm going to loosen that up so I can drop it down right to the base of the clamp. Now you don't want to go too tight on this. It's all plastic, so all you need is just a little bit of pressure on there. And let me just loosen that up just a little bit more so I can slide it down a little further. Okay, we're just going to slide it down on here. I don't want to loosen it up too much there, but there, we'll slide it down to right there. And you notice I slid it down to the curve of the other one. And both of these are seated on there together. And we're just going to tighten it up now. And again, don't tighten it too much. You'll start compressing the plastic. You just need to snug it. They've never come off. And I also, by the way, I also like to put this curve in there so it's not rubbing up against the net, but it's also not curved back towards the propeller system. Now you say, wow, that all flops around like that. It's made to. If you're worried about it getting too far back, you can even take this one and move it up to this position. And we're just going to tighten that down a little bit. Snug it down there. It's just starting to get a little bit snug right now, and that's perfect. In fact, the other position, if you do want to do it to get a little less play out of it, let me show you the other place that I sometimes put it. Is I take my my carburetor and I put it on the other side right here. show you. It's kind of hard to get your hands in there at first when you're first doing this. So I'm just going to put that in there, and I'm going to come right through here. Actually, you got to go through the smooth side first, through there, and then of course you see those teeth. You pull that nice and tight, and that'll make it a little firmer back here. As far as this other strap here, I usually take that right up to the edge of that clamp, and that just keeps that from sliding. But that's how your carburetor's mounted in there, if you want to pan back and just kind of get a good picture of how it's in there. Now these two tubes, you're going to say, what are those for? Come on, zoom in on that. This is just a breather vent. As this bowl fills up with fuel, much like a toilet does, there's two floats that go up and down in there. So as you throttle up and burn out the fuel goes down. That means the floats drop, just like the float in the back of a toilet. It allows fuel to flow in through this tube into the carburetor. And of course, as it's filling, air has to escape, and that's what this tube is for. You want to make sure that's not clogged up with any dirt or debris, but all this is a vent. So if you're saying, wow, what is that? That must be connected to something. I'm missing something. You're not. It's just a vent. In fact, you don't even need this tube on here, but Fresh Breeze just kind of cleaned it up and put a little Y tube on there so that could breathe. So our carburetor's on, and when you come back, we're going to put the propellers on, and I'll show you how to do that. Thanks. Okay, so now we're going to put the propeller system on, and what I'm going to do, because I do have another video that shows you how to put the propellers on a Monster, but I want to pull these out of here. This is how they come. When you get it in your package, when you get your Monster in your package, you'll have two sets with two different propellers. And of course, these are kind of, they've got them Velcroed together in the embroidered propeller covers. These two are together for a purpose. In fact, they've been wrapped up. When you pull them out of the package, be very careful not to mix these two up together. They've been balanced for each other. This prop half right here goes with this one. That's why they put these two together when you unbox. With the Simonini, you don't have to worry about that. But we have 4 pieces we're dealing with here. And these props are really cool props. Carbon fiber is always the best way to go. And people ask me, you know, what do you like better, wooden or carbon fiber? Well, wooden's a lot cheaper. The problem is it's a lot noisier. It doesn't rev up the speed as fast. They're not balanced as well. And of course, the Scimitar prop really reduces the noise quite a bit. It's rounded edges on both sides. Fresh Breeze is using a Scimitar type prop. Most of your noise is actually coming from the propeller system. And of course then with our exhaust silencer, our intake silencers, this actually has foam in here dropping down the noise. You'd be amazed at how much noise is actually coming off an intake. And a lot of guys don't even put a filter. They have a little foam thing. You hit all of that intake noise. Their exhaust, like I said, most of the other ones on the market do not have an effective exhaust. In fact, they'll have something that looks like it, but the inside is kind of hollow and it's not performing the way it should. This has got packing in there, it's got vents in there, and it's actually doing what it's supposed to do. So between the rounded carbon fiber, the exhaust silencer, the intake silencer, you've got an extremely quiet machine. And especially with the extra pitch that we have, we don't have to over rev our motors to get the thrust that they're getting. We've got something that can be just a little bit above idle, so your motor's lasting longer, it's not getting hot, you're not wearing it out, you're not rebuilding every year with a Fresh Breeze. And especially with our reinforced crankcases and our high energy ignition systems, our nickel coated cylinders, our enlarged cylinder heads, our high performance roller bearings, these are all things that are not found on any other brand out there. So this is what you are going to be missing if you pick another brand. You'll not only pay the same or more, but you're going to be missing all of these features. Watch that other video to learn about that. But I wanted to show you, even though you're going to refer back to the other video for how to put the propellers on a Monster, go and find my other video. If you subscribe to my channel, you'll see all of my videos. Find the one where it shows you how to put the props on, so we're going to save the time in the video. But I wanted to show you how they go together. You're going to pull these two out of here. You'll notice they say Fresh and Breeze. You're going to point these two at each other, and they simply put together like a jigsaw puzzle. You're going to push these two together until they line up, and that prop is now assembled. Okay? What I like to do is I put this at the 12 o'clock position. The first one goes on without any kind of plate. There's a plate that goes in between these now and a plate on the outside. But again, go watch that other video. I'm going to pause it for a second. When we come back, these props will be mounted, and it's only about a 4-minute job, but I'm trying to make this video a little bit shorter. So watch the other video for how to properly put on the monster props. There's actually a wrong way and a right way to do it, and both of them will seem like you're doing it the right way, but watch that video. And when we come back, we're going to put the pad on the back, and we're going to dump some fuel in it, and we're going to start her up and see how she sounds. Be back in a moment. Okay, so as you can see, we stuck the props on. It only took a couple minutes, and again, if you refer to my other video, it'll show you how to get them on there the right way. We just kind of paused it to save time. Next thing we're going to do is just pull our cushion out here. If you want to come around here, hon. I usually start with the zipper side at the top. There's a zipper in here where they put their foam in here. By the way, this is a nice place to put your backup bag. There's a when you order a Fresh Breeze, there's a quick bag that comes with it. Usually with the wing, the Power Atlas comes with it. I'm not sure if the Air Design Easy comes with one. I know they've got a couple different wings, but I like to keep a quick bag in here, or if they don't have a quick bag with the wing that you order, just throw yourself a big 50-gallon plastic garbage bag all folded up. Just put it down in here and forget about it. If you ever land somewhere and you have to walk to a local road or something, maybe you got to walk through the woods or something like that, and you put the motor on your back, you don't want to have to walk with the whole wing hanging down with lines. It's really nice to stuff it in some sort of a sack and put it up here in the dead spot between your propellers and put the whole thing on your back and just stroll out. So I usually use this little area to put stuff in. Some guys put their cell phones in it. We got zippers on the side of the harness and stuff, but they'll just put stuff in here for emergency or whatever. But I usually start with this at the top. It's got Velcro straps on it like this, and Velcro straps on the side. The first thing we do is we reach in here. We're gonna take this bottom strap and we're gonna put it around. We have this really unique hammock system. I'm gonna tell you something. On the other brands on the market, they don't have a system like this. You notice how this puts the motor away from your back? With some of the other ones, you get so much vibration that you're out looking at the field and it's literally blurring out because they don't have this hammock type system. Again, this is all of these things that are on a Fresh Breeze that are not on the other brands is in another video on the front page in my home. On my homepage, if you just scroll down, you'll see a video where I'm wearing a white shirt like this, standing next to a unit, and I go through piece for piece for piece everything that's on a Fresh Breeze that's not on the other brands, and this is one of them. This makes for such a comfortable and less vibration, and of course you couple that with about 2 or 3 inches of foam on your back, you have an extremely comfortable ride that's not shaking your eyeballs out the entire time you're flying. Your back's not itching from the vibration and all that. But anyway, so that's how it connects there. And then you go up to the top. You find this very top hammock rope right there. You go over the top of it like that. Let me do that again so you can see it. And as you watch, I slide it right in between. If you come down lower and get in there, I slide it right through here. And then I go through the back like that, and that is on. Okay. And we're going to check the throttle now. Make sure that we have the carburetor together. When you check your throttle, which is something you always do before you start your motor. I can't tell you all the horror stories I read online of guys just start up their motor and their throttle's stuck on and they're whacking off their fingers doing all sorts of other stuff. But part of the thing is when you start this thing, you want to make sure that you have that throttle completely out. And you remember the slide that we stuck in the carburetor? You want to be able to have this working free. Now, ours have a cruise control on them. A lot of them don't have this. We have a cruise control. When you're doing a long cross country, you throw your cruise control on. Some guys will be unloading this and actually hit that cruise control and lock it on, and that holds the throttle in place. You can see that you just turn that, and you see it's locked on the throttle. Well, some guys will unload it and hit that, and they won't check the throttle before they start it up, and man, I tell you what, when you start up a motor and you're not expecting it, and you see the amount of power, especially on a Fresh Breeze, how much power they have, when you're not expecting it, it'll kind of knock you over if you weren't. So we always check the throttle. It does not pump fuel when you do this. It just simply moves that slide that we stuck in the carburetor when we were showing you earlier up and down. So we just want to make sure that that's working freely. And what I usually do is I put it somewhere I can reach it because I don't have this in my hand when I start it. I simply hang it here. You can get something to hook it on, but on my unit right here, we have these are part of the suspension, and I'll use it temporarily while I'm using this just to hold that there. I just leave it there while I'm doing it. When I'm actually starting it, I'll put my foot in it like this, down here to the side, and I'll actually hold the frame. You never hold on to the cage, you always hold on to the frame. Something else that we need to do before we get this thing started and put some fuel in it, this is our regular cap. This one is vented. This is the one you're going to be using when you're flying. when you get it, you're going to have a white cap on here. You want to make sure that you don't try to run it with this cap on, because it'll run for a little bit, but if you don't use this cap, you're going to fly for about 2 minutes, and then it's going to shut your motor off, and you're not going to know why. And it's because you're not allowing the gas tank to vent out. So this is for traveling. If you are going to use a travel cap, use it sparingly. If you're going to be laying your motor down, the first thing you want to do is shut your fuel off. We have a floatable carburetor, so you shut your fuel off with that valve down here. When the arrow is sideways, the fuel is off. You see a little arrow there. When we turn it in line with the tube, it's on. You'll actually see it flowing. But what I like to do is when I get done flying at the end of the day, is I like to shut that to the off position and start the motor back up. Well, you'll say, well, why would it start with the fuel off? Well, it'll start because it's burning up what's in the bottom of the bowl. Again, we have a totally different carburetor. This thing gets twice the fuel efficiency, but it also has its own little bowl and reservoir of fuel. So when you do start it, you're going to burn up what's in the bowl, and then it'll shut off. Now you can lay it down without flooding out the motor. But before you lay it down, then you would obviously want to use the travel cap instead of the vented one. If you lay it down with the vented cap on, you can, it starts dripping fuel out of the vent. So we'll take that one off. And the reason I say use this one sparingly, because if you don't have to use it, don't use it. If you can keep this upright in the back of your truck or in the back of your car, leave it off. Unless you don't want to smell it, but you definitely don't want to let the car heat up or let the travel cap sit on it while you have it out baking in the sun. If you've ever seen a gas can that sits out in the sun, it gets all bloated out and warped out of place. So don't do that to your motor. If it's in a car, make sure you crack the windows on the car, let it cool off. I understand some people can't stand the smell of gas. I like to put a little bit behind each ear. It's what the well-dressed pilot is wearing this season, but I like. Some people don't like to smell it, so they're real picky about it. So if you don't want to smell it, put this on, and then you could use that for traveling. But I always run out what's in the bowl first, so we're just going to stick the travel cap on like that, or the actual working cap with the vent on it. Okay, when we come back, we're going to dump a little fuel in this, and you can see that this thing is going to be running on within 3 pulls. A Monster starts within 3 pulls, fresh from Germany. And we have another video called the 520 Challenge. Watch that one, it's kind of fun. But we're going to start her up here. And that's about all there is to assembly. So we'll come back in a minute. We're going to dump some fuel in it right now, and you're going to see the very first start off. My student standing behind the camera lady here, taking it. She's done a great job. And hopefully you enjoyed this video. But we'll put some fuel in it, come right back. All right, this is George Patton from Georgia. He came all the way down to Flight Junkies. We just got done building his machine, so I want to throw in a plug for this. If you watch my other video, what kind of gas to use and stuff, I like using this can on a Fresh Breeze. It works amazing. It works amazing with everything. Look at this thing. It doesn't drip, and you can get in here so easy with this, and it drains so fast. But the reason I get it in